things that I learned from the horses and how they've changed me and made me who I am today is I learned to be quiet, first of all. It's the hardest thing for me because I'm a babbler. But my dad used to always say, Dave, when you're being confronted or something's happening to you or you got to do a speech in front of a bunch of people, whatever, he says, don't forget to breathe. He says 3 breaths specifically. He says, you're golden if you can do 3. And take a full deep breath and don't overreact it. Just do it like it would be natural. If you can only get 2 in, that's good too. 1 is better than none. And sometimes when you're challenged, when I go out to the horses, I can be totally quiet. I don't even have to talk to them. I just can't get enough of their body. So I inhale their bodies and inhale their noses and love them and that. But it's like being quiet. They help me to be quiet and not really think. It's really just trying to be in the moment, which is not easy for us as humans. It's a hard thing to practice, but if you can just do it a little bit every day, it's so healthy.
Welcome to the Herd is Calling podcast. This is where we break free from conventional norms to explore the art, science, and wonder of the horse-human connection. I'm Josh Williams, and together with my wife Victoria, we're your hosts. Our mission is to inspire and empower you to improve the lives of horses. Subscribe to the Herd is Calling on Substack for behind-the-scenes stories and unique content. Now, let's get to the episode. Welcome to our podcast, The Herd is Calling. Today, we are so honored to have Cherri Applebee as our guest. Cherri Applebee is the owner and operator of Ghost Rock Ranch in Bend, Oregon. She is a film and video producer for advertising and social media. She has a 30-year career as a film and video producer that is still going. Her father was a Western actor, and she began dreaming about her life as a cowgirl by following his inspiration. He actually played Western actors and cowboy roles, it sounds like, huh, Cherri?
Yeah, he did a broad sense of other movies as well, but Bonanza, Maverick, Cheyenne, all those big ones.
Wow.
We still see him on, when you're watching old TV stuff.
Okay.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And I know, Cherie, that was just some very, very short liner notes. She's being very humble and left a lot of things out there. It's just a real privilege to be able to talk to you, Cherie. We've known Cherie for few years now. We work out of her barn. We do some of our programs out of that. Cherri's, I say she has a heart as big as the horses that she works around.
Agreed.
We're excited to be able to share you a little bit here.
Yeah.
It's been a really wonderful road in life to get here. Just like you guys, we all discover new roads, and every time we discover more roads, there's new things to trip on. There's new things to discover. And you can't, as much as you might want to paint your future in your mind, you have to be open for the things that you would never have expected or ever planned on. And I feel blessed that those are some of the things that this ranch actually reflects, is some of those wonderful things.
Yes.
Wow. Well said. Yeah. It reminds me of some of those funny memes where it's like my goal is to go here and go there. It's like a straight line. And then the reality is was up, then down, then flat, then up, then down, then flat, then like way down and then back up.
Yeah, exactly.
So Cherri, tell us about your horse life these days. Be a typical snapshot of what your horse life looks like on Ghost Rock Ranch.
Well, we and myself, we go out, we invest in the horses every solitary day. It's just a love and a kiss, or out there mucking and them getting into your muck wagon and you loving on them and stuff. They all have, of course, different personalities, but they're always greeted with such love and care and kindness that it's always easy to go in with any of them. They can be little monsters sometimes when they want to get out the gate when you're trying to get in, and so they want to see if I'm going to win that one. But they're hysterical, but it's just fun to go out and love on them. As far as riding, I've discovered a couple of owies on my body in the last couple of years. So I've mended those puppies, and I'm still just gaining back some of the strength that I lost when I was in the middle of healing. I feel like this spring's going to be a new spring for me, because I'm already feeling good. And I've only ridden a couple of times this year with Victoria. Every time it was good once I got up in the saddle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really fun to rediscover and get my brain back on target, because I hadn't thought about it. The ground relationship that you have with your horses is as equally wonderful as when you're in the saddle. So I don't really miss it. I don't feel like I've
Right.
been robbed or anything, but feeling really good. I'm looking forward to next spring for sure
Nice.
to ride some more.
Cool.
It's exciting. It's kind of like a new spring. A lot of metaphors there.
Yep, definitely.
New beginnings. That's one thing I notice and has just always drawn me to Ghost Rock and you and your team that works at Ghost Rock. There is a genuine love of horses there. I mean, it's so genuine. And sadly, my experience, and I've been doing this for a while now, working at various barns and programs and facilities. Sometimes that is not like the number one thing on the list, interestingly enough, is that just kind of unconditional love for horses. And that shines through so clearly when you walk into the barn at your ranch. So I just commend you for that. And it's got to be your leadership. It's got to be something you're putting into the fabric there, because it's real.
No, it's very real, and it's wonderfully surprising when you see it come from people that you don't necessarily expect it to come from. And actually, they find comfort. They find comfort and trust just to be around people who are positive like that. I have it's a little pet peeve of mine when somebody just randomly, considers a horse human and says something like, "Oh, he's such a butthead today," or "I don't know why he was acting that way," or whatever. And I said, well, they don't necessarily know how to be a butthead. They might be telling you something that you're not necessarily paying attention to. And if you see them uncomfortable, stop, figure out what it is. It's like it could be the smallest thing under a saddle blanket that's making them uncomfortable. Or the saddle doesn't fit properly because a lot of people don't know how to fit a saddle. And that's one of my biggest deals. But when somebody speaks in a way that they're comparing emotion and moods and whatnot that aren't necessarily possible in a horse, I say, no, you're considering the horse human. The horse is more than that. And that their communications to you they're real, they're truthful, there's no BS around it. And if you find a horse that's having some struggles, it might be from their memories of times before. So you have to just, give them a break and take some time and figure it out and have somebody else help you figure it out. It's always been a big thing with Judy, who's ranch manager here, as you know, and she'll say, "Oh, no, so and so, blah blah blah," and I said, "That's not possible, dude." Okay, all right, let me change my words. And so changes their words. And I know it sounds silly, but I do say that to everyone. I said, don't listen to the horse, watch them and pay attention to their communication, and you'll have a better experience with them.
100%.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, we compare horses to like their own culture. So you have good intentions. You still have to be aware of the culture and how to be respectful and connecting to them. It's really like a new way of thinking, I think, for a lot of people to not anthropomorphize animals in general.
Exactly.
I'm wondering too, Cherie, because you do have such a great culture at your barn, and that is unique. I think anybody that's been in the horse world knows it's not always great vibes. I actually wasn't around horses or barns until I met Victoria, and we basically were running our own boarding barn, and that was my first experience. It was kind of right into the deep end. I went in thinking, oh, horses, this is people's passion. It's really fun. It's an amazing thing. I just assumed everybody was going to be on cloud nine and like kind of loving life. And when I saw there was a different vibe, and not to be harsh to people, like I know a lot of that's just, it's hard to be vulnerable around animals. And there's a lot of other, psychological things happening. But from a leadership point of view, like you're in at the barn, what do you think contributes to creating such a great culture?
Well, for all of us in every single day, there's medicine from just the spirit of a horse. And I think that when you pass on what you believe and then they discover it through their small steps of getting to know the horses, then they embrace it. And everybody embraces it slightly different. Like Matt Pfeffer, who I am so blessed to have as a foreman here, and his beautiful girl, Kayla. Kayla's not as bonded quite yet. She hasn't, but she's been doing so many things with Matt. She's becoming more bonded. And I can see it. It's a very quiet bond where Matt has a relationship with every single horse. I mean, he talks to them. He has movements. Judy, on the other hand, is our singer. So when she goes into the barn, she sings to them. She has rhyming songs with their names in it. And the whole time she's feeding, she has, oh, baby boo and babaloo, and she's doing all these. And it's like this, they're being happy with the horses, and the horses respond to that. When I come in the barn, I have this, voice that actually carries quite largely. And so I'll come in and I say, all right, I'm coming down, guys. And all of a sudden, at the same time, every single horse in the barn puts their head through the window. And
Mhm.
I go, I'm getting them. I'll be right there. And you can go grab a couple of cookies and go all the way down the line and give them kisses on their noses. And everyone acts a little different. I just think that people mimic each other when they're around those who are loving. And Victoria, you're a big influence here. And so are you, Josh, that people see other people thriving with their personal relationships with horses. And then they get that they adopt it themselves and somehow or another make it grow. I don't know that they do everything that you and I might do, but
Right.
their personal efforts are always genuine, because they see it happening around them. It's adorable. Seeing Louise Shirley, who rides a lot of my horses, she giggles. And her interpretation of when a horse wants to do something different than what she's asking, she says, no, that's just their way of asking, can I do it this way? And
Mm.
I love that when she said that, I said, "Oh, that's a really good interpretation," because you can ask a horse to do this and this, but as you're doing this and this, and then they do something quite a little slightly different or whatever it might be, because it's always usually pretty small, she gets a tickle out of it. She actually giggles and she goes, "No, I know you might wanna do it that way, but could you try it my way?" And she says it out loud. I mean, she literally rides with that beautiful intention, and her calmness and her love for the horse and the time she spends and then gets on, it's just yeah, it's beautiful to watch her. She really is,
Mhm.
and it's verbal too. So she's actually out loud speaking with the horse, which is so beautiful. And giggles because it's fun for her. She gets a kick out of their questions.
I love that. We talk about the field around the horse, like you could talk about that in terms of heart coherence, or there's some science around that. We like to call it the horse field.
Yeah, well, I like that.
And I know you know this, but horses, when they're in a herd, that bubble, they all start combining, and then there creates like a large, I guess you would call that herd field.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel that at your place. And I think the humans obviously are contributing to that. It's like there's a vibe that permeates the whole place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love hearing your thoughts about that, because that's a power. It doesn't just happen automatically. It has to be
Right.
No.
intentional.
I have to tell you something really beautiful happened the other day. Mr. Ladd came out with his daughter, Kelsey, to ride Butters. Louise and I were trying to catch up on some, mucking and stuff. So we were just over where Buck and Cowboy were. She's much more healthier than I am. So I'd muck for a little bit and then I'd sit and then anyway, I see this handsome gentleman standing over there. And I said, "Hey, who are you with?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm here with Butters and Kelsey." And I said, "Oh." And so I said, "Come on over," So he came over and it was just over the fence chatting. And he admitted that he has a lot of fear. He gets nervous and he worries about his daughter, but he also credits the time that he's had his daughter in your classes, Victoria, that he is seeing the development of a young woman. He says that the years that she's been with Victoria, she's this amazing young person that is turning into such a great equestrian, but the tools to be an equestrian and a young woman and so on are all sort of coming out of this really beautiful blossom. And so he's staying there, and I said, "Is there something specific that you're in fear of?" And he says, "Well, just I don't know." And I said, "So you see this horse right here? His name is Cowboy. He's my BS barometer. He basically they do have a middle finger, they just don't show it all the time, but they do show it sometimes." I said, "Come on in here, and don't come in here because you're gonna go to Cowboy. Come in here because you and I are chatting. Just come on in, come on over here. Don't even look at him. We'll just pretend he's over there." And he came in, he goes, "Oh, okay." And he comes in, not apprehensive or anything, just, he was feeling good. Comes in, he's sitting there chatting with me. Cowboy, immediately, he comes around from behind him, and he's sniffing his coat and nudging his arm, and I said, "No, don't pet him or anything, just wait." And so he goes, "Okay." And so pretty soon Cowboy's at his hand, and he's doing sweet little nudges on his hand with his nose. And I said, "Now go ahead." And so as soon as he went ahead and he was gonna pet him, Cowboy turned his head, and I always tell him, "Oh, I like that side of your face anyway." And then he'd turn the other way, "Oh, I like that side of your face." And he literally Cowboy was in his front pocket, and he never had that feeling. And I said, "No, this is Cowboy checking you out, and you're letting him, and he's saying you're a pretty good guy because you haven't There's something going on with your energy right now that makes you feel safe and calm. And I said, and he's receiving you. I said, sometimes it's nothing. It's the simplest things. But he had such a great experience walking in there. He asked in the spring, do you think you have a horse, Cherie, that I could ride so I can go on a trail ride with my daughter? And I said, well, the timing is going to be perfect because I wouldn't put you on probably anybody else but my Jake. I said, and Jake, a good Western saddle for you and very comfortable. And I said, and because Butters and Jake are hanging out together, they're kind of buddies. I said, so it might just be a perfect match. I said, you just have to make some arrangements with lessons with Victoria. And he said, okay. He goes, yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah, what a great story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's the next time I saw his wife, I said, oh, I got to meet your husband. I'd never met him before. And she says, oh my God, he came home telling us I was in the corral and I was petting Cowboy and Cowboy liked me. It was really just a good experience for him.
That's really cool, Cherie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I got so many more questions for you about your work with the nonprofits and equine therapy type interactions. But first, let's hit the rewind. I'm curious, like a young Cherie, like what first drew you to horses in the first place? Where did this even start?
I love this story, and I'll make it brief. But Rhonda Johnson, I was young, and I was 8. She was 9, I think, she was a year older than me. I can't remember exactly. And she was a Native American Anglo, was so unique and beautiful, and she was a huge equestrian. She did barrels on her champion quarter horse, Kokomo. And that was the first time I had really been introduced to going to somebody's ranch or farm where they had cattle there too. And she just taught me everything about being brave, because I hadn't really ridden or anything before. But she'd say, oh, and she'd just be so nonchalant about it. She goes, I'm going to put you on so-and-so. He'll just keep up with me. Okay, we're bareback.
Whoa.
She says, just hold on to the mane. That's when I learned how the mane was so important. And she says, pretend you have stirrups there. And I go, well, I don't even know a stirrup. I didn't know anything about stirrups. She says, okay, keep your toes up and your calves on. And I go, okay. So I did that. And we're just walking. And then, of course, then she goes into a trot. And I'm sitting there, oh, shoot, okay. Oh. And the next thing I'm doing, we're loping. And I'm my first horse holding on. And she's ahead of me just a little bit. And she turns around, she goes, isn't this fun? And I said, yeah. Scared me to death. But after the first time, her just watching how she managed to be with her horse and how she practiced and what she taught me, she opened up my brave door. She gave me trust, and she said, and horses will love you back when you love them. And she was the first person that I ever heard have conversation with her horse. I mean, real conversation. So I thought it was just normal. I thought that was the right way to do it. So yeah, she opened the door. I tried to find her after she moved back to Texas. I still have never found her, but she's a big.
Wow. What an introduction.
Yeah, she was awesome. She was the best.
Very cool.
It's a phenomenal introduction. That's so unique. That's really different.
Yes.
It's very authentic and raw. And how old are you?
I was 8 or 9 because she was 1 year old. And you know how 1 year older when you're that young is a big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah.
So I looked up to her because she was just a year older, and she had so much coolness with her horses, and yeah, she was amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's where I took the first bite of life when it came to horses. Followed, like you said in the introduction, that my dad, especially when we were young, he would get notifications in the mail that you're going to be on this show 8:00 on Tuesday or whatever. The studio would always send those things out. So we would always, of course, invite our neighborhood friends. We'd all be laying on the floor in the living room watching. At the time, I think it was mostly black and white, but it was so much fun because eventually I was the closest to my father. I was like his son when I was a younger girl, and he would take me to the studios. And the studios in those days, they have it very different now, but the studios used to run your contract, and in there when you're doing Westerns like Bonanza and all that stuff, there's literally a corral of horses, and they're being trained by trainers. And when I went there, I was so shocked. I learned that my dad did all his own stunts.
Whoa.
And these are all those actors did. Even Dan Blocker, Big Hoss. I mean, when they had like being attacked or whatever the heck by a shootout, or they'd have to lay the horse down. They do this all the time, but they did it because the horse was trained. The cowboys were trained properly how to get a horse, and sometimes they'd be running. They'd be in a lope, and then they'd have to signal this horse to fall, and the human goes flying off. I was like, "No kidding, Daddy," because I've never gotten hurt, just a few bruises, you know. But I mean, I was so inspired by watching that, and then seeing how the handlers handled the animals. Now they were really specifically well trained and cared for. Not as good then as it is today because of all the protections of animals, but it seemed safe and good to me as a young person seeing all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was amazing. So seeing my dad as an actor, and I just thought I was going to be his cowgirl daughter, and I just looked up to him so much. He was an awesome guy.
Wow, that's beautiful, Cheri. What a unique lens you had formed. These two experiences really say a lot.
The lens that I got lost in was that I was such an adventurer that I wanted to, I didn't want to do anything my parents wanted me to do. And I had great parents. So I started an adventure of running away with a couple of my friends because they had bad situations. My situation wasn't bad, theirs was. And I would go with them. But eventually I ended up meeting and becoming part of a group of people with bikers. These bikers they became like family. They never hurt me. They treated me like a little sister. I was like, 14, 13, 14, 15. But what I discovered is the same thing you discover about horses. Here's these big men, burly beards, and strong, and they were all carpenters and construction guys and whatever when they worked, but they were really these hard, difficult on the exterior to see them, but I knew them from the inside because they literally made me their baby sister and shared with me things that they didn't share with other girls or other gals they were hanging out with. I saw the vulnerability and the sensitivities and all of those things, and I think that when I discovered that just about these big guys and these amazing packages on the exterior, that's the same when you meet a horse. They're just these big massive animals full of muscle and grace, and get close to them and you start to feel their personality. And I know that from knowing these men that I did, and then knowing my love for horses, it all kind of came together. And that's how I've, really sought out how and why horses help humans in so many ways. And like Victoria, it can be a small thing or it can be a big thing. But no matter what, you're going to benefit from being with a horse because you're going to discover your own inside too. You find out where you might be vulnerable because you haven't had enough experience or you haven't been received with a lot of positiveness or something might be missing. And you can gain that by just being quiet, being with horses. I tell people just being with a horse, that's all you have to do. It's not about everybody wants to ride, which is nice. But there's so much to do before that. And to just be able to hang around and stand there while they're investigating you and having conversations that you're trying to figure out what they're saying. That all just like the way I've figured out those men. And some of them have since long time passed away. They were in their 30s and 40s, some of them, and I was in my teens. I mean, that's where I learned how to see through people as far as those that are vulnerable inside, kind inside, but they don't show it on the exterior, but it's all there.
Wow.
It's all there.
So good.
Yeah.
Hey friends, Josh here. We've launched a free community for The Herd is Calling. It's on Substack. Subscribe to join thoughtful discussions and access exclusive content. It's as easy to use as social media, but so much better because social media. Am I right? In the words of John Lennon, a dream you dream alone is only a dream, but a dream you dream together is reality. Like the wisdom of the herd, we are stronger together. Click the link nearby to subscribe and get in on the conversation. Now, back to the pod.
Your next phase, fast forward maybe to Ghost Rock Ranch, maybe the first Ghost Rock Ranch.
The first one was seriously a dream that was so big that it was so big. I've never known how to be anything other than dreaming big and shooting for the stars.
Yes.
I love that.
It scares a lot of
Yeah.
people. And even here, Judy thinks things. Just before we even got that garden going out there, she says, "What are you thinking?" Once it's done and once we start doing it, then she goes, "Oh my God, it always sounds so hard, but Cherie makes it happen." My husband of 30 years, who I adored, he was an amazing man. I have nothing negative to say about him. He struggled with chemical dependency. And so as he was doing better, making life, he ended up quitting his career. which I think was almost like cutting off both his legs. You know, it was something that he loved so much. And then all of a sudden it was just the ranch, and he and I built a beautiful one barn with an apartment above it and then another huge barn. We had plans to build the lodge and these cabins that we'd started and more arenas and so on. And again, it was big, big, big. And eventually I lost him because it was too big for him. So it made me put the brakes on for myself, but I didn't stop. I just went slower, you know, and that's when I started to rescue horses because I knew I would want that. I wanted to start somewhere where I was doing something for the community or taking on the animals. Gala, my very first child, neighbor down the road, who I didn't like him so much, but his wife was super cool and he had two beautiful young boys. He didn't like that his broodmare had dropped a white Arab. And I remember him saying that, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me. So I couldn't deal with it in my head. Why would you not like a white horse? I don't get it. When she was about 2.5, almost 3, he says, Cherie, if you come get this horse, she's yours, all her papers and everything. She's a Peruvian Arab. He says, because otherwise I'm going to put her in the ground. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
I had a caretaker bring me down to his place. She had never had a halter on. So I'm putting a halter on this 3-year-old. And I had to walk her because she'd never been trailered. So I'm walking her up the railroad tracks, scared to death that the train's going to come. I kept looking forward, going, oh, if a train comes, I can go to that tree and tie her. You know, I mean, it's like doing all kinds of things. Anyway, I got her back to the ranch, and of course she cried because she was taken away from her mother and her herd. She cried, cried, cried. So I had to immediately rescue some more. So I looked for somebody trying to move horses and found this lady named Mrs. What's it called? What's that famous street in Hollywood? Anyway, Mulholland, Mrs. Mulholland. And she was so sad to let go of her horses, but they'd been out in a field for months and months, never tended to, never thrown hay. They were eating tansy weed. It was horrible. She had already sold them to some guy that was going to take them to the butcher. And I said, well, I want to get to your house faster than he is, and I'm going to load up those horses, and I'm going to give you $100 more for each horse. And she goes, okay. I said, so if you hear from him, cut them off. They're not his. So I went and got him. That's where I got Early, who's still here, 31, 32 years old. And Honey, who I have a beautiful painting of her on my refrigerator, who was a beautiful white leopard Appaloosa. And she was the queen. But yeah, those two horses came, and then all of a sudden Gala could settle down because she had a gelding and a mare there. And then it grew from there. I mean, it was like people knew I would take in horses, but I eventually had to keep a cap on it. So I always called them my dirty dozen. I always had like 13, 12, 13. And sometimes I'd take an animal that, wasn't going to have much of a long life, but to be able to give them health, give them what they needed to be feeling good and let them die when they tell you it's time to die. I've had many, many experiences, which I know you have too, Victoria. But all those experiences for me were not sadness. They were more joy that I was able to give them what they're going to remember last.
Like, I know community is a big part of you, drives you, it seems. What was your original idea at your first barn? Because it was before you started rescuing horses, but you said there was a lodge and cabins. Like, what was your initial big vision?
Well, I thought I'd always rescue horses, but we were going to make what you call kind of a glamping, where people come and they're not necessarily doing the whole outdoor thing. They have a little cabin there with some heat in it, but you come outside, and there's your toilets down at the barn and your fire pits in front. And the big house that I built was just the most amazing chef's kitchen, but we had to get it approved through Klamath County so that we could make food for people that would coming. And we had a lot of people coming through even before everything was finished. The 3 cabins that were together were from the Rashnishi. Remember that?
Oh yeah, the little A-frames.
Yeah, the A-frames. So I got 3 of the A-frames from a friend of mine. He brought them out, and we just finished them and made them nice. We built 2 other cabins as well. I put 5 wells on that property. And it was all probably about 6 septic tanks so that it would be spread between because the water level's pretty high out there. So you want to be able to protect the groundwater and stuff. But then the big arena went in there, and we did all of the Lapine rodeo and the game days. And it was amazing. It was a 210 length by 110 width, all metal span.
Whoa.
And so then I built on an entire wood construction of 16 stalls, 2 bathrooms, an office, 2 showers for the horses. It was just a really beautiful operation. It was a dream, but when I lost it, I had the most amazing support. Mike Shields, who's still in La Pine, been there forever. He came with a cooler, and we sat on the outside looking at everything as we were packing up my last load, and had a couple of cocktails. He said, "This has been a great place," and I pulled away, and it wasn't like a sadness. It was almost like, to be honest, I don't know if I could have made it happen because it might have been too big. I might have made it too big. So finding my little humble area, I humbled myself just trying to slow down and make things right, for myself financially and just, for my horses. And then coming here, it was, my dad says it's not luck when you find someplace or you find a job or you have to know how to capitalize. If you can't capitalize on an opportunity, then luck has nothing to do with it. It's to be able to do what I did to be here definitely was a giant leap, but there was always support, always people there to catch it. And talking about community, we all call it a village, but when Louise came back after a year in Joseph and she was here, she said, "Oh my gosh, there's no community like there is at Ghost Rock Ranch." She goes, "It's like a family, an extended family." And she says, it's like you go there and everybody that comes into the barn is family, they're friends. And she said, they didn't have it there. She was writing and stuff, but she said it was just not, there wasn't the same friendliness, there wasn't the same amount of joy,
Right.
there wasn't the compassion for the animal. She said it was super hard. She couldn't get back to Bend fast enough for she and Brian to be here because she said she missed this community. Barb Cass says the same thing, and so does Rebecca. They say they just love the bonding here because they don't have to call us to say, "Hey, I'm bringing my grandkids," or "I'm bringing my." She brought her family here the other day, and I said, who were all the kids that were there? And she goes, "Believe it or not, it's my CPA." I said, "Oh my goodness." She goes, "Yeah, the kids had such a blast. They couldn't love on the burros enough." It's adorable, and I love that they feel free to do that. It's like they don't need to call and say, "Is it okay?" I go, "No, it's an extension of yourself when you're here. Just go
Wow.
for it. Just go for it."
Yeah, that's a gift. Like we're talking about with the vibe, it's basically the same thing that doesn't just happen automatically. I think it's really fascinating. We're kind of in this challenge right now of community creation and how that applies to like more in the virtual space, which is a completely different way of looking at things than what we're used to. So I'm really just intrigued by like the power of community and what goes into it and how it works. We've had community before and we've done programs that built that, but I don't know that we were really super cognizant or even super intentional about it. It was just kind of happening because we were doing cool stuff that people were around, and really just for the first time realizing how important community is. Like that's actually number one, probably.
Hey friends, Josh here. We've launched a free community for The Herd is Calling. It's on Substack. Subscribe to join thoughtful discussions and access exclusive content. It's as easy to use as social media, but so much better because social media. Am I right? In the words of John Lennon, a dream you dream alone is only a dream, but a dream you dream together is reality. Like the wisdom of the herd, we are stronger together. Click the link nearby to subscribe and get in on the conversation. Now, back to the pod.
I think it's an honor when my neighbor, Daniel Baca, called to say, "Hey, Cherie," because we've all been sort of texting and talking about this landfill situation. And he writes me while Judy and I are out trying to save 2 horses day before yesterday. We're going to try again on Sunday. But he said he's calling, and I know it's important because it's during his work day. He says, "Cherie, we're going to get 30 to 40 people together. And is it okay if we come to your barn?" And I said, "Absolutely." I mean, it's like, I would never say no, first of all. And to me, that's like, we're talking about neighbors, some that I do know and some that I don't know, that are all going to be able to come into Ghost Rock Ranch and get that feeling that that you feel when you're here. They're going to be relaxed, and they're going to be able to be there to talk about something that's important to them about our community and what's going on. And I find that an honor that they are making it my place to have a meeting. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah. Something I'm learning from you and just through what you're saying and what you model is just the effort, the intention and the effort. And like you said, like what your dad said about things not just being lucky, and I think it was Oprah that said, luck is when opportunity and preparation meet, emphasis on that preparation part. So there's actually a lot of work goes into creating amazing situations. So similar to community, it didn't just like pop out of thin air. There was a lot of, you put effort into it, and it's evident for anybody that's around you. So I think that's a really powerful lesson.
Yeah, I asked Barb Cass to hear me out. I needed to bounce off somebody to help me I wanted to behave properly, the right way. Didn't want to overreact and so on. And so I was chatting with her, and of course she's so great. She sits there as a friend, and instead of somebody who's wise beyond. And she says curiosity and collaboration.
Whoa.
And I looked, she goes, yep, that's what we call the 2 C's. And I said,
Yeah,
I love it. I said, oh my gosh. And I said, and it changed my whole interpretation of the issue that I was dealing with, because when I approached it with curiosity, not defensiveness, pure curiosity, and then collaboration for a solve. Find a way to not fix, but mend a little of whatever was happening there. I learned just those 2 words from her the other day, and they're like my new powerful words.
Yeah, we've learned a lot from Barb too. She's very wise, but that's wonderful. We really explore the topic of curiosity a lot with horses. Like that's part of their language. It's part of how we, when you become curious, you're able to connect more with them. And curiosity is very powerful.
And with humans as well. And I didn't put that as in a formula in my brain until she suggested it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just so much more empowered.
Right.
Because I try to be, the things that I learned from the horses and how they've changed me and made me who I am today is I learned to be quiet, first of all. It's the hardest thing for me because I'm a babbler. But my dad used to always say, Dave, when you're being confronted or something's happening to you, or you got to do a speech in front of a bunch of people, whatever, he says, don't forget to breathe. And how many times do you remind us of that, Victoria? To breathe when we're on our horses. But he wants you to take the time to breathe. He says 3 breaths specifically. He says you're golden if you can do 3. And take a full deep breath and exhale. Full deep. Don't overreact it. Just do it like it would be natural. If you can only get 2 in, that's good too. 1 is better than none. And sometimes when you're challenged, when I go out to the horses, I can be totally quiet. I don't even have to talk to them. I can't get enough of their body. So I inhale their bodies and inhale their noses and love them. And I mean, I can't get enough of just the touching and feeling and smelling of them. But when you're doing that, they're like doing the same to you. I love it when I'm preening on the back of somebody and then they start preening the other horse and then they start preening my hair. I love that. But it's like being quiet. They help me to be quiet and not really think. It's really just trying to be in the moment, which is not easy for us as humans. It's a hard thing to practice, but if you can just do it a little bit every day, it's so healthy.
That nonverbal communication piece from horses, the more I learn, the longer I do this, the more nuance that gets. So when I hear you talking about the ability to be quiet and still feel seen and heard and cared for and safe and loved, that's one of the greatest gifts I think that horses offer us. I just love that.
Now, do you mind if I tell you that story? You asked one question was an experience that you had with somebody with horses.
Yes.
And Jeremy, who's one of my military, he has struggled a long time, but now he's doing extremely well. I'm so proud for him. But he'd come to the ranch with need of a home and a place to stay probably 4 or 5 times. And every time I let him stay with the threat that he couldn't stay long, but of course he did. But he considers our horses like his family. When he's gone and he comes back, he'll come with somebody, a girlfriend, a buddy, and he just shows up because he knows he can. He said, I'm just going to go take him out and introduce him to the family. I said, okay. So he goes out and he goes and sees all the horses, and it's just like a big shot in the arm of happiness and joy. and he's greeted. He goes, "I can't believe Cowboy let me hug him." You know, I mean, he'll just be so proud for his actions, showing off in front of whoever it is he has. He suggested to this young woman, Chelsea, who was really a troubled person, "Hey, listen, you're gonna love it. Go out to where the Gildings are and just stand on that little rock pile there and just stay there. It's so awesome." He goes, you're gonna see them coming over to you. You know, he had all this idea for her and planted this. So she, unbeknownst to any of us, she bravely goes out, opens and closes the gate, gets out there, and she had discovered standing there. She goes, "Yeah, the horses kind of like weren't even paying attention to me. I was standing there, and I was like, yeah, I thought they were gonna come over to me." And she looked up, and Buck was in front of the gate, and she panicked because she goes, "Oh my God, I don't know how to ask him to move so I can get out." And she really panicked, and she went back to the place where she was standing, and she started crying hysterically and then praying. And she was going, "I was just praying, please God, will help me out of here." You know, and but she was crying very heavily emotionally. And she said it was within a second or two, but Early, Cowboy, Buck, they all came around her and put their head on her, got in, you know, were really nudging her, trying to capture her. And she said she looked up and she said she was, oh, and she's touching them. And she said it was like a light came on. She said it was like an angel just like threw down this light. And I felt so good. And then the horses were right there and they were letting me love them. And she goes, then I saw the gate and I had to go. She was still afraid that somebody was going to get in front of the gate. But she came back in such a rush wanting to tell that story. And it stayed with her for such a long time because whenever she'd be in a dark place, I'd say to her, I said, "Close your eyes and think of that day when you were sitting out there with the horses." And she goes, "Oh yeah, Cherie, thank you." And so, yeah, that's why I think it's always so surprising to people, the surprised reaction of horses when they as a herd are coming to you because what's going on. There's, you know, they can't fix it necessarily, but they can get in there and like protect them, almost like come in and say, "We're here." You know, it was just so beautiful. I just love it. Yeah, it was one of my favorites.
It's just so interesting whenever I hear stories like that, and that's what you hear is the moment the human allows themselves to be vulnerable, you know, allows that crack to be seen, or that dark shadowy place to be illuminated. The horses just that's what horses want to see. And that's, I think, the powerful nature of equine therapy is that it really shows humans how to be vulnerable and shows humans how beautiful and courageous it is to be vulnerable.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so your nonprofit, Helping Hooves, it's an equine therapy. Now, I know you guys do lots of different things.
It's interesting. I've tried really hard with military and I was successful with bringing on people. It's really hard. It's a HIPAA thing and all kinds of stuff that you have to be super careful with. But the vet center is free to say to any of their veterans there that are seeking help or want a job or whatever. So I really adopted a lot of military that way. That was the primary goal, even at my Alfalfa Ranch, which I was there for 5 years. That's where I took on the most. But then I would say it was all military until I came here, and there was so much work to do to the ranch. I'd almost taken like a year off of doing that, but I had employees that were either military or whatever, mostly military. But long and short, I met a beautiful woman, Wendy Rudy, who was working at St. Charles, and she introduced me to cancer survivors. And the denial that they're still living, they may be past the worst of their situation, but it affected them personally, their partners, their children, their jobs. And they may, like I said, be recovering from all of that and getting back to their jobs and everything's kind of coming back to what you'd call normal. But they hadn't ever really dealt with the, damn it, I'm pissed off that this has happened to me, you know, about having a cancer. It's something nobody can control, you know. And when I took those beautiful women and their friends, some were married, some had sisters, there was different people that came. There was about 8 beautiful ladies. They, they I had already taken a lot about Igala, and the theory behind having a psychotherapist and an equine specialist and the horse, but it was usually too heavy because it's too much talking and too much. The psychotherapist keeps wanting to open up doors, and if you just let it go, the horse will open those doors, just by being quiet. The most fun I had with these ladies, because it was something I made a joke for every time we did it, every Saturday for like 8 weeks in a row. I'd say, "What's a horse's favorite thing to do?" And they'd go, "Oh," and they'd name, all of them would be excited to name things and so on. But I'd say, "No, the most favorite thing they love doing." And they say, "Tell us, Cherie," because they're just all waiting for me to say it. I said, "Well, they actually like doing nothing." Can you imagine you doing nothing? If you spend enough time with these horses learning how to do nothing, you'll find some quiet time just hugging a horse and closing your eyes and listening, breathing in their beautiful skin. Their heart rate's slower than ours, so it will slow your heart rate down by just breathing and hugging. And don't think about, "Oh, I got to go to the market after I get done here," or, "Oh, gee, I got to pick up Sally," or, you have to just empty your mind and just learn to live in the moment, even if it's for 30 seconds. Just close your everything and just take in the horse. And when they do that, the horses yawn. They get all happy and relaxed. They're like, it's so adorable. So that's when the door opened for me to seek out other community opportunities. And that's when drug and alcohol rehab started to open my door, because just like military, they all fall into a form of trauma,
Mhm.
some kind or another. What I discovered was I really like to require that most that I invite to the ranch have at least a year of sobriety under their belt, and that they're doing their program. I broke the rules a couple of times with some good people that I'm glad I did for them. They needed it.
Mm.
Matt's 4 years clean and sober over that now, and he came here with a year under his belt. He was a great example. But the other doors that have opened, and it's part of the nonprofit, is I had somebody knock on my door. Her name is Ray, and she is the owner of Ben Forest School. "We love your ranch, and we saw it online. It's beautiful. Do you think you might be interested in letting us have a preschool here, just a little camp?" I'm like, "Of course." And she says, "Okay, let's go look." And they picked a spot that's beautiful when you ride or walk out there. Next year we had preschool, and then first and second graders. And then this year we have preschool, kindergarten, first through fourth grade.
Whoa.
2 yurts. It's amazing. I am so privileged and so happy to have them on the ranch, because one, just to hear the little people giggling and whatever during the day is just so nice. Just the sound of children. They are super sweet. Keep so much care to the property, and it's so beautiful when you drive around where their little camps are. But that was a surprise. And then from there, we've opened up the door to different places like ARCC, which was the nonprofit that brings young people from usually reservations from different states, and then brings them here and does different stuff with them. It was a really eye-opener, beautiful opportunity. And then this newest one that's just come in the last week with the Bend Park and Rec for the Therapeutic. And these are people that are anywhere from, I think she said 19 to 40. So they're not little people. They're, young adults or adults. And
Yeah.
these are the kind of things I keep opening the doors for. And I don't charge anything. I say to people, just like with the school, I don't want people to feel like they have to pay. If they need time, like this one woman just called recently too. Her 10-year-old is struggling. She didn't go into a lot of detail on her voicemail, but she said, "I need to do something to help open up my daughter's experiences." And I saw that, you let people come see your horses. I said, "Absolutely." And so I've told her, "I need to have a guardian here. I need to make sure there's somebody here." I said, "But once we get to know you and your daughter, you can say, 'Oh no, I'm going to go see these horses,' and she can go out there and brush them and take them some carrots or whatever the heck. You can figure out one little thing at a time, or go sit with the burros. They're very medicinal. They're awesome the way they sit and love on you." But opening the door to more opportunities, that all I say is, when you can, when it's realistic for you, just donate it to Helping Hooves, because right now, when you're a nonprofit, you have to have something tangible. And so the school is super tangible, because they're right here and they're getting all this improvements. And the garden out there is also part of Helping Hooves, so that it's for the kids and other people, because, meet me in the dirt. I mean, there's places where you can go, where psychologists and different people that are helping us mentally with our counseling, playing in the dirt is like the most therapeutic compared to being with horses. And it's a way to just, there's so many good things. So those are ideas that I keep trying to, create. And then I put that out there, and I'm trying to, that's where the website needs a little more work so I can be a little more definitive. But I also don't want to be too definitive because I don't want it to be so structured. I'd like it to be open. For years, my associates in California being in the film industry, Cherie, we'll come up with a crew and come film, you do what you do. And I said, that's so nice of you. And I appreciate the offer. I said, but the truth is those who are there, who have gained opportunity from the ranch, I said, it's personal. It's private. It's not, we don't go out there and advertise that we specialize in helping people. It's people help themselves. It's not me helping them. It's them helping themselves, taking a step forward to doing something for their own personal wellness. And sometimes it's as simple as hanging out with a horse, working in the garden, taking a walk around the property. Eventually, I tell people, do you know what a high it is to just walk a horse on a lead line?
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, and Bobby Elliott's my first one to teach me this. She said, the minute you pick up a halter, you're going to become a herd of two.
Mm-hmm.
Once, work begins when you pick up that halter, the horse recognizes you're putting that on. Now you're the lead, and you need to empty out all this stuff so that you can walk with that horse and help the horse with their own confidence and with their own bravery to walk in paths with trees and leaves and dogs and people and sounds that might make them nervous. They're going to count on you. So these little things that the smallest things you can try and give people to formulate their own health, their own wellness. Give them the license, they'll take it, and they should run with it.
Wow. That's really good. That's really good.
And I use all your quotes all the time, Victoria. So just believe me. And she says something to me, I run to Matt. Victoria said today.
You're very kind, but yeah, I mean, it's the horses, it's the environment, it's the being in nature, it's just all those lessons are just right there for the taking. I have heard many lessons you're talking about, but if you could just distill it down to a couple, what have horses taught you about yourself? Just a couple things.
Well, the one I said before is that they've helped me to be quiet. I get quiet with them, which it's hard for me to be totally quiet. So I take a little of my dad with the breathing, and then I go out there to just, watch their eyes blink and their ears move. And when I move, I really just absorb myself in looking at their bodies and loving them and letting them do what they want to do. But the other is, like Rhonda Johnson taught me, to be brave. She taught me bravery. I think that when I'm on any of my horses, I'm not afraid of my horses at all. I'm not afraid to get on any of them. There's a few that I don't want to ride anymore. They're just getting to a place where they just need to be retired. Hard to say, but it is true. So I haven't been riding my Eddie as much, which I miss him. But because of their wounds from previous lives, like Eddie for one, he makes me slow down. He makes me pay attention to him and what he's saying to me. I didn't discover until one of those times, Victoria, he was doing so good. Remember, that's when I discovered my leg wasn't right. So I turned one way or the other. But he kept getting nervous inside the barn, and he just couldn't stay still. And I figured out, I don't know why it took me so dagnab long, but I stopped taking him in the outdoor and the indoor arena. And he's like cool cucumber. But he gets himself in a knot thinking performance, which he was forced to do for the majority of his life. So I think he just still, too many horses, too many people. Everything is just like, he gets himself into a little tizzy inside. So Ed, he's the one who I sing to him when I ride. I know it sounds silly, but it's Pop Goes the Weasel, because I couldn't think of anything else at the time. But I don't say Pop Goes the Weasel. I say boop, 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 Eddie. I sing to him because I can see his ears listening to me the whole time. And he stays calm, the whole time we're out on a trail. He can go out by himself. He's so brave to go by himself. Because before he couldn't do that at all before. It took a year to put 100 and some odd rides on him just to get him to accept that it's okay, and that he felt brave and confident enough in me that I wouldn't take him any place that wasn't good for him.
Right.
Now he trusts me totally, so it doesn't matter where we go, but not in an arena. He just
Right.
It's a bad memory for him. So,
but you were curious about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the curiosity thing, instead of forcing it or taking it personal. You were curious about it. And then that's the collaboration piece. It's like then you
Right.
asked him, what
Yeah.
does he need? And then you guys, there's a great
Yes.
Tom Dorrance quote that's first we go with the horse, then the horse goes with us, then we go together. And I pull that out all the time because I hear that in so many people's stories of like, oh, I figured this out with my horse. And it was
Right.
that sequence.
Yeah, same thing with he had an abscess that I didn't know about, and I had actually done all his hooves and everything, and I couldn't figure out why he didn't want me to mount him in the arena. Was thinking, is he just not I couldn't figure it out, but like you said, you have to really pay attention, and I finally took his saddle off, and I walked him back to where he was, and, he wasn't limping, there was no sign, right? But he was telling me something that I couldn't the communications are so gray sometimes that you can either interpret it in your own way or you're making up something and it's not there. But I got him in there, and the next morning went out to feed him, and he had a huge burst of a abscess on the hairline. And it's just like, but it was like it came up, but you know how painful those things are. And that's what he was trying to tell me. And and I didn't see it or anything, but it's all really, it takes so much for people to pay attention to what a horse is saying and how they're saying it, and not make it human. Try and figure out what the horse's communications are. And he was so polite telling me he didn't want me to mount him. He's so sweet. I mean, he was being, because he wasn't being a bad boy or weird. He was just not. No, I don't want you to get on, Mom. It was a good lesson for me, and I tell it to people all the time that are not paying attention. I said, look, I think I'm really darn good at this, and dagnabbit, I can make mistakes too, because I just wasn't hearing it. I didn't see it. And so still didn't punish him or make him feel bad about it. I took him out, and then the next morning, of course, God told me, because there it is right there on his hairline. But yeah.
Yeah, I know. I love that. Ghost Rock Ranch, a place for healing, a place for community, a place for children to come, a place for lavender to grow. It's just such a cool place.
Pretty magical place. Yeah.
I love it. And we will talk about lavender the next time.
We just have a couple more questions, but if you were able to just sort of let us know how people can get in touch with you, how people can keep track of the projects that you have going. I know your website sounds like it's
work in progress.
But it's a place to go.
Yeah, put it up.
Okay, we got that. Ghostrock.com, right?
That's really the best place. But we have Matt, Judy, and my phone numbers in there, and everybody's always open to calling them. I mean, we get calls, and then they also, I didn't know how, whatever the website designer did, but they literally email me and it comes to my phone. So that's how people have been reaching out to me, people that want to board or whatever, or these opportunities like from the Park and Rec. But the lavender is a biggie because we're not really selling it. I'm actually giving it away and wanting people to see what the hydrosol is, because we didn't even know hydrosol, didn't even know what it was until we started distilling. We're trying to figure out how to market and how to put things together, because it's going to be part of the Ghost Rock Ranch / stables kind of thing, because it's the only place where we can generate income. And so I do want to retire eventually. I'm 69 this year, and I'm proud of that. I still want to work a couple more years in the film industry to keep going so that I can keep taking care of the things I want to do here on the ranch, like all the solar that I'm putting up on our buildings. And those are things that are going to be awesome, because it'll be a good example, for young people that we're putting solar, to take care of, because it takes a lot to light this place up. But anyway, there's just so much. Everything's baby steps. I try to take small steps, because I paid the price for taking too big of steps a couple of times, but you just learn to go slower, not in a hurry. I'm going to live to be 100 and something. So
Nice. I love it.
Yeah, just keep going slower.
One word to describe the kind of horse person you aspire to be.
I just want to be kind.
Hard to beat that. Who was the philosopher that said 3 things you need in life? First is kindness, second is kindness, and third is kindness. I don't recall who said that. So
I think William James.
Yeah, I think it's William James. Yeah.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
superpower.
that's a good one.
Superpower.
It is a superpower. I would say you can check that one off your box, Cherie, because we've witnessed that is the horse person you are. So that's something we get to witness and be a part of every time we go to your ranch.
It's taken me a long time to be slower. And I mean, I have slightly large personality, and it's part of what I do for a living with being a film producer and stuff. Believe me, that it comes in handy. But also keeping everybody having fun, making things light, not getting too serious. As a younger person, my husband used to tease me all the time because he'd make me laugh at most silly things, but he'd stop me by making fun of me because I was being too serious. And so his medicine for me was to do something silly or off the wall, and then I'd catch myself with being too serious. So I've learned how to just slow down. Slow down. Don't be in a rush on everything. Always smile and be kind to people. Most of the time, you will always get that in return.
Wow.
I love that.
That's a good slogan. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing so much of your wisdom today, Cherie.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys. It's been really fun.
I think we better call it there. Do another
come
one.
back for part 2.
We'll do part 2, and we'll dive deeper into there's so many things to dive into.
I know.
But thank you for
No, thank you
sharing
both.
a little bit of your story. I learned about you today.
Yeah, I learned a lot more. I filled in some missing blanks there. Yeah.
And it's nice. And I just want to say you're one of our heroes. We love you. We think the world of you. And thank you for sharing your story with us and allowing us to share it with our audience. So.
Definitely. And back at you guys, because seriously, Victoria, you are a huge contributor to just the core of the community in the barn. And with Josh, you have been there so many different ways with now, especially the physical therapy and doing all these things. It's like the two of you like bonded into this powerful couple that is doing so many good things. So take some credit for all the wonderful things you do and how you reflect in my community of this beautiful place that you're a big part of that.
Aw.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a good little herd we're all in.
Yes, it's a good herd.
Yeah, I love it. And I picked up a few things, but curiosity and collaboration, those are my two big ones.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. All righty. Love you both.
I hope you enjoyed the show today. We'd love for you to join our free Substack community for The Herd is Calling. Connect with us, engage in thoughtful discussions, and access exclusive content. Click the link nearby to subscribe. It's so easy and totally free. We appreciate you listening, and as always, may the horse be with you.